Are your goals and dreams setting you up for failure or maybe disappointment? A lot of us might not even realize that's kind of what's happening, but when we sit down and actually pause and think about it, it's not actually a problem of us not having enough willpower or us not trying hard enough. Really, in the first place, we should have evaluated what our goals are and see what are some realistic ways that we could accomplish that. Because being a busy working mom, it's not a joke. So you still have things that you want to do. You still have dreams you want to go after. But how can we make that a reality? So today we're going to go through 4 reasons why this is setting you up for failure. But we're not going to stop there. I want us to actually look at 5 ways that we're able to combat this. How are we still able to make our dreams and our goals a reality without constantly setting ourselves up for failure or disappointment? So stick with me. We've got 5 great things that I really think are going to help encourage you and empower you in your next steps towards your goals. Hello, ladies. If this is your first time joining us, this is not my normal intro. I'm actually having some technical difficulties and was not able to use my regular intro. And I'm just kind of having to make it work because I have podcast episodes that I want to put out and I need to keep going. So welcome to my podcast. My name is Courtney Tong. I'm here to support busy working moms who love Jesus, their kids, and their spouse, but they also want a little bit more time to look after their needs and go after their dreams. So if that's you, I'm so excited that you're here. Thanks for joining us. Today, like I said, we're going to be looking at why are our goals setting us up for failure and how can we actually address that? The first thing that I want to look at is having unrealistic goals. So, for example, if you had a goal to pay off $30,000 in debt and your family makes a combined income of $80,000, if you actually look through how much income you have and how much expenses you have, and you say you want to pay that off in a year, that's probably not going to be realistic, right? Unless somebody gifted you something or you won the lottery, we just have more expenses than we're able to pay that off. And it's not a bad thing to want to be debt-free, but we also have to be realistic in that timing or in that season and start to chip away at it. But maybe it's a year. Maybe it's getting some side jobs. Maybe it's, shifting it. But if you're just keeping things exactly the way they are and you're not making any other changes, is your goal actually realistic for this season? The second thing I want you to look at is, do you have a plan? If you don't have a plan, then it will certainly fall apart in the process because we've got so much going on. So if we don't have actionable steps that we can work towards, then it's going to fall apart. We don't have any accountability is the third thing. You might be going after it. You might have such good intentions, but you know yourself, if you don't have anybody coming alongside you, checking on you, encouraging you, then it's really easy for us to lose our steam and just give up. The fourth thing is you don't actually know your why. Now, let me explain this. We're going to go ahead and shift gears into our 5 ways that we can make our goals a reality and not just keep setting ourselves up for failure and disappointment. This is super important to know your why. Now, this is something that we actually deep dive into in my program that I'm creating for you. I'm so excited. It's not ready yet, but it's in the works. And so I'm going to go ahead and give you an overview here of kind of what does that look like to know your why. There's 2 kinds of whys. There's an outcome-based why and there's a process-based why. And let me explain that. Your outcome-based why would be, okay, I just want to pay off debt, right? Or I just want to start my business. And that's the outcome, right? Oh, I just want to have more time with my family. That's the outcome that you are achieving from that. While this outcome-based why is important, we can't just stop there. We actually need to dig a little bit deeper and look at this process-oriented why. It really kind of gets into this, who am I becoming? Who do I want to become? And that is why I'm doing this. So why am I actually trying to be debt-free? Well, I might want to be the mom or the wife who stewards her finances well. Or I want to be the woman who raises financially literate kids, right? So paying off the debt is important, but there's something deeper. What's the process of who you are becoming, and what's the legacy that you want to leave in that? And it doesn't always have to be this big legacy question, but this process of who do you want to become? What are the characteristics? If you kind of start to list those out, what do you want to be known by? What are the words that you want to be described as that maybe you are right now to some degree, but maybe that's refined or tuned in a little bit more as you're reaching towards this goal, as you're reaching towards this outcome. What does it look like, and who do you want to become in that? Because at some point, the reason why we have the goal is because we're striving for something that we don't yet have. And in some ways, we will be becoming a little bit different version of ourselves as we grow into that, because we're either becoming more of what we already are, or we're shifting, or we're growing, or we're changing. So really looking at that process. Who do I want to become in this journey? The second thing that I want you to do while you're working towards your goals that are so important is I want you to combine your dreams with a dash of reality. So the reality might be the timeline, it might be the scale. Now, having big dreams, super important. We have people on teams that are visionaries, that are dream casters, and we need those people to help propel us forward. But for, businesses, if they don't also have people that come alongside and say, okay, great. So you want to reach 1 million people? Well, let's make sure that's attainable in this amount of time. Or for the third thing, work backwards. How do you make it happen? So maybe, paying off that $30,000 is realistic because you just sold your house and you're living with your in-laws for a season, so you don't actually have a house payment. That's huge, right? So if we work backwards and say, okay, if we know that we can save this much for this amount of time, then we can, and you kind of just plan it out, right? Part of the working backwards is it's not just planning it out starting from today, but if you look at, okay, if from a year from now, I want to be $30,000 paid off. And this is a big number. I just made this up. So if this is off an actual reality, then let's just pretend another example. But for example, $30,000 in a year. Okay, well, that means how much each month, right? Work that out, work that backwards. Well, we're already halfway through this month. So could we actually do this month? Do we need to count, this is just a half, or are we starting next month? So now it's not just, hey, I need to pay off, I don't know, what would that be, $2,500 a month or something like that. Now it's going, okay, so what's that per week? What's that per day? If I'm going, well, do I want to go get coffee or boba? Man, that's like $6 or $7 these days. Okay, so now you're starting to really get into, how do I make this a reality? If you're working towards a business goal, what could you realistically do? If you're already busy and you're working, but you know that you have things that you want to pursue, okay, great. So let's not say, hey, let's launch a website next month when you haven't even decided who your audience is going to be. Who's your target market? You've got a lot of foundational work that needs to happen before you start just diving in. So adding in that dash of reality, but working backwards. So if you're saying, hey, I know that for the website, it's going to cost me, X amount of dollars to get the template that I want or the hosting service. And then even that financially, you can start working that backwards to say, hey, once I get there, I'm ready. I've already got the money saved, or I've been budgeting so that we can have that ready each month. The fourth thing I want to encourage you with is finding accountability. Now, if you're the lone wolf, you feel like everybody always comes to you and you're always encouraging them, this can be hard because it also requires vulnerability. If you have someone that, you're sharing with, it's not just the wins. It's the, hey, this was tough this week, and kind of addressing the problems and how it can get better. How could you make actionable steps for the next week coming up? And really inviting in someone to check on you and make sure you're doing okay, make sure you're staying on track. And if you have to readjust, sometimes it's that reality check of, hey, you just had a lot of external circumstances happening. So maybe for this season, we need to readjust and realign some of our goals. or shift our timeline in that. But that coaching and that accountability is so important because it actually helps you plug in a way that if you're just doing it by yourself, it's so much easier to make excuses. When you have a coach that's walking alongside you to help you ask the right questions, making sure you're leaning in, it can totally change how you're actually pursuing this goal. This is particularly important if you're trying to, start a business or start something on the side. So while we're talking about coaching and accountability, I'm actually going to be offering 5 coaching calls for free for my community. All you have to do to enter is go to the description, sign up for the email list, and that'll get you entered. What we're going to do is they'll be a week long. We'll start on a Zoom call. We'll hop over to Voxer for check-ins, and then we'll wrap up with a Zoom call. So if you have a dream or a goal, something that you're wanting to work on, whether that's your side business or in your family life, your personal life, I want to come alongside you to help support you and get some more clarity on that of how you can start taking steps and how you can not be so overwhelmed or discouraged that you just totally give up. Because I believe that God has put this on your heart for a reason, and I'm ready to come alongside and support you in however I can. And then on top of that, I've got a grand prize. In addition to the 5 separate people that I'm going to be working with, I'm going to have one grand prize of a month-long coaching. And that'll be weekly calls. We'll check in between for a whole month. So go ahead, make sure you get signed up for the newsletter, share with your friends. If there's anybody else that you think would be encouraged to be gifted something like this that they could just use right now. Maybe this is just a tough season. They're having a hard time getting any traction, but whether it's them or you, this is something I want to do. And so you're ready to take the next steps. Go ahead, sign up for that. I'm going to be announcing those via the email, and be sure to go ahead and do it. I know that we can often get distracted and realize, oh, I forgot to do that. Go ahead and do it as soon as you're done listening to this episode, because the registration for that giveaway is only going to be open until August 20th. Okay, we've got August 20th is our deadline. I'm going to be shutting the doors and then drawing those people, okay? All right, I hope you stuck around to the end because this one is gold. Number 5, I want you to stop dreaming and start implementing. Stop dreaming, stop consuming, stop planning, and start implementing. Here's the deal. We get so caught up in being prepared, having a plan, having it perfected, and not stepping out. And if we're never stepping out, then we're never learning and we're never growing and we're never making progress. You could have the perfect Pinterest board. You could have the perfect notebook that has all the plans and all the things written out. But if you don't have any implementation, you're not going to learn. Because in our head, things could go one way, and then in reality, it might just look different. It might look different for this season. It might look different for our people. So that's why I need you to start implementing. The faster you're able to implement, the sooner you're able to make adjustments, grow, and move on from there. That's why, even for me, it's a little bit scary offering this coaching, stepping out and doing new things. But I know that this is something that the Lord's called me to. I know that it's something that I really, really want to do. And so this is the next step. I've got bigger plans down the road. And if I don't take this step, then I'm not able to adjust accordingly and do my best for my audience. I need to know who I'm serving. I need to know what I'm doing right and what I'm doing wrong and what I can change. So I have to stop planning. I have to stop consuming. Get off of Pinterest. Get off of the trainings. You could have all the courses in the world under your belt, but if you don't start doing it, it doesn't matter. But it can be so good if you just lean in. You start implementing, start taking small steps, seeing what's working and keep pushing into that, adjusting after you figure out what's not working. Moms, God has called you to this dream. He's called you to motherhood. He's called you into this season, and He will equip you as you continue to move forward. Continue to trust Him, continue to take steps of faith, and let's do the dang thing. All right, thanks for joining me. I hope to see you next time. I won't see you. You'll hear me. Okay. I hope you have a great week and we will talk later. Okay. Go sign up for the newsletter. It's in the description. Okay. Bye.